Hello. On today, I have two individuals that was brought up during the civil rights movement. These two individuals, would you please state your name?
Benny Griffin Jr.
Eloise Griffin.
And how old are you now? And how old were you during the civil rights movement?
Now I'm 76. During the civil rights movement, I was 18 and above.
And I am 73, and during the civil rights movement, I was 18 and above.
What was it like to live in segregated Clarksville?
Well, here we didn't really know any different. Our parents didn't talk to us about that. They didn't talk to me about it. And we just thought that was the way of living. And you accepted the way that it came, the way you approached it. And it wasn't pleasant. Many things in life, even now, is not pleasant, and it's much better now than it was then. And people talk about water fountains. Yeah, we drank out of segregated water fountains. We thought that was the thing to do. Nobody told us that was wrong until later on we found out that that wasn't the proper thing for a human being to do.
Miss Griffey, how are you treated?
Well, uh, back in those days, you kind of knew your grounds and you stayed your ground. There were times when you would go downtown and people may kind of move out in the street and you'd have to step off the sidewalk um, so that you wouldn't bump into them because you didn't want any kind of confrontation. But basically, in your neighborhood, we were just happy because that's all we knew, and our lives were just pretty much like anybody else. But when you went to stores and downtown and other places, there was a slight difference in the races.
So, how did you feel going to an all African American school?
It was wonderful going to an African American school. There was more caring, there was more concern, there was more togetherness. Our teachers were our mentors, and we looked up to them, we respected them, and we felt like they had our best interests at heart. And so they were like a part of of our family. So it's a whole different feeling. It was a whole different feeling in the black school of those days.
Okay, Mr. Griffey, how was your elementary school?
What was your question?
How was your elementary school?
It was good. All of them was just about the same.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't much different in them.
You went to school in the county.
And of course, I went to elementary school in the county, and I was told my father it was built by my great 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 grandfather
Mm-hmm.
because in the community where he lived, black folks could not read or write, and when you come down signatures, they use an X, and I saw a little bit of that when I was growing up from some of the older people.
And he went to Griffey School,
Oh,
who was named for his great great grandfather.
When the
okay.
county took over, they talked to my great 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 grandfather about it, and he said, "Well, if you keep my name, you can move the school. They want to move it out closer in the other community." And
Oh,
they made a deal on that, and so they kept the promise. I was able to attend the school and finish in eighth grade myself at the same school.
okay. Did either of you discuss segregation with your friends about the schools or around town?
No, I didn't. Like I said earlier, we really didn't. No one discussed it with us
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't really a big question. Only thing that bothered me about the whole deal, I had to ride school bus past other schools to get to Burke High when I started high school. And if you sum it up, it was something like 50 miles totally, there and back. And I personally thought that was just too much riding for a kid to learn something that he needed bad.
So it was much so like the case of Linda Brown when they did the Brown versus Board of Education, where she had to go 21 blocks to her all African American school rather than 4 blocks to the white school right down the road. Right.
Right.
Now I lived within 5 minutes of the school, and so I was able to walk. And my only experience, I guess, with the white school was I sang in the glee club, and we would get all dressed up and get to go to Clarksville High and sing at Christmas time. And we just that was the only real contact we had with any other school other than the Burt school.
So how did you progress as segregation slowly progressed?
Um, I think, well, when I graduated high school, I went to Tennessee State in Nashville. And then I was out a while. And when I returned to school, I returned to Austin Peay. And I graduated from Austin Peay. But when I was on the campus at Austin Peay, I think there were 7 African American students. And when I graduated, there were 13. So we were part of the Mighty 13. But it was not an unpleasant experience because I was there to learn. I was not there to socialize, and so I didn't have any real problems at Austin Peay. But I did graduate from Austin Peay with the bachelor's and the master's degree.
Mr. Griffin?
I attended Austin Peay as well. Of course, I didn't have the privilege to go to some of these other big time schools they had to offer. But I more or less kind of went on my own. I worked when I got out of high school, and my little money that I used was money that I put away to go to school with. But my father, my parents, they weren't able to send me to college. So I did the old-fashioned way, worked my way through school.
Well, that is wonderful. I thank you two on today for doing this interview, and I appreciate to know and to learn more about the civil rights movement through you two. So thank you and have a wonderful day.
And thank you.
Thank
and
you.
much success in whatever your endeavors are.
Thank you.
Best of luck.